guys, my name is Kayla Rayne, and today I'm doing my August wrap-up. So in the month of August, I read a total of 12 things. However, the bulk of those actually happened during booktubeathon, so I will go ahead and link my booktubeathon wrap-up in the down bar below because I don't want to talk about those books again because I feel like that would just be overkill to give little reviews on them and what I thought about them when I've already done that in a previous video. So if you want to see that, go ahead and check that out in the down bar below. But for this video, I'd like to focus on the 4 books that I did end up reading after booktubeathon, which is not an impressive feat, but they were really wonderful books that I enjoyed and just really got to throw myself into and really just cherish the moments that I spent in those pages. So this month, as far as booktubers that I want to shout out, I would really like to shout out Amy and Laura from Two Paper Girls. I started watching them in July, a couple weeks before booktubeathon started, but they are just incredible and really fun, and I highly recommend checking out their channel. And I love to hear them talk about books because they just have such great opinions on them, and you know, I think so. And I would also like to shout out Bea and Maddie from A Heart Full of Books, and this is another duo YouTube channel where you have 2 hosts on it, and they're just really fun to watch. I really enjoy the videos that they have, and their background, their bookshelves are so freaking beautiful. So if anything, just go check out one of their videos just to see their background. It's so amazing. But yeah, that's all I have for my booktuber shout outs, so let's just get right into the wrap up. So the first book that I picked up after booktubeathon was actually on my August TBR, and that is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. And this is a book about a teenage girl who's entering high school. Her name's Melinda, and she has a secret that she's holding inside of herself, and it has to do with why everyone hates her. And as the book goes on, it kind of unravels what her secret is. And the foreshadowing in this was really wonderful. It was done in such a way that you could figure out what was going on. That way it wouldn't be some bold shock at the end, which I feel like would have been a very bad way to go about this story, just because it does have very sensitive material. And I love the way this was written. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars and thought that it was just a really beautifully written book. Wonderful contemporary. It's definitely right up my alley for contemporaries that hit hard issues. Those are my personal favorites, and this one just did everything that it wrote about. It did it such great justice, and I think that this is definitely a book that everyone needs to pick up. For sure. Next, I finished Armada by Ernest, Cline, and this is actually the first book that I started for booktubeathon, but I just couldn't get into it because it does have some slower pacing. I'm not going to say too much about this book because I do have a review on it, and I'll link that in the down bar below if you want to check it out, but I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. It has gotten some mixed reviews on BookTube and on Goodreads, but I enjoyed it. I thought that it was really accessible for the modern reader, whereas Ready Player One, I felt like you had to know some 80s references a little bit more to appreciate that book. That was ridiculously well written, so I feel like anyone really could enjoy it, but as far as the references and stuff like that, I felt like this one was a little bit more accessible. But like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, really enjoyed it, and I will pretty much read anything Ernest Cline writes because I just think he does a really great job at writing awesome nerdy characters. And I finally got around to reading Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins, and this was also on my August TBR. So I did pretty good about reading most of the books on my TBR this month. But I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. It was not my favorite. I felt like it wasn't as lovey-dovey and nice as Anna and the French Kiss or Lola and the Boy Next Door, but as Trina from Between Chapters pointed out on Goodreads, that was one of the things that she really liked about this book, is it dealt with teenage love and all those other issues in a very real way, that it wasn't perfect and that you do have to work out some things in your relationship. So I did enjoy that aspect of the book. I just wasn't expecting it because the first 2 books I felt like were geared more towards love just being easy and carefree and just kind of fitting together perfectly, which I enjoyed that. Although it's not 100% realistic, it's nice to read about. But this one was just fantastic. I love that Stephanie Perkins talks about sex in her books because that's an important thing, and I think that YA books should not skirt over those issues because guess what? That happens, and I love that Stephanie Perkins actually acknowledges that that is a thing that exists. And finally, I finished The Uninvited by Kat Winters, and this was a pre-order that I got. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars, and oh my goodness, I loved this. This is about a 25-year-old named Ivy Rowan, and she wakes up after having a really bad case of the Spanish influenza and finds out that her brother and her father have killed a German man, and she just cannot deal with that, so she ends up leaving her home and moving into her small town in Illinois. And this book just deals with a lot of the atmosphere that was happening during World War I, during 1918 with the Spanish influenza and all of the stuff going on with Germany. And it was so wonderfully written. I really liked it. In the beginning, I really wasn't into the romantic relationship that is in this book, but towards the end, I really got invested in it, and I got invested in the characters in this book, and the storyline and the plot was just wonderful. And as usual, Kat Winters just delivers with the historical fiction with a paranormal aspect, because the main character of this book does see ghosts, so that was kind of cool. And I just love how Kat Winters weaves that paranormal aspect in with her historical fiction, and the historical fiction is so spot on. It deals with all the heavy-hitting issues of that time period, and it's not just, you know, the clothing and the talk and everything. It's actually the social issues that happened during that time period is what is touched on in this book, and it was really incredible. Highly recommend this one, as I do with all of Kat Winters' books. That's all I have for today's video. I am pretty happy with the books that I read. I found that every book that I read this month was really pleasing, and I love having a month where I don't have dud books, because who wants to waste time on a bad book when you could be reading something good? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay weird.